Hi guys, and welcome back to our series. Here in this video I will show you some setting options from our app, and you can open the settings here if you navigate to the left side here and click on the settings button or tab here. Under the settings here we have four setting options or main settings, which means they are split in four tabs here. The first one is a theme, where you can style your widgets and pop-ups. Then you have the function, the wording, and the media storage. So for now, at first, let's start or focus with the theme settings here. And as I've said before, the theme settings here are for designing or theming your widgets. And here we have a lot of different options. So let's start with the first one here, which is the card button. The card button settings here affects all buttons or all add to cart buttons and other buttons of the widgets and the pop-ups from the app. So at first we have the background color and the text color, and we have some shape settings here. So to explain this function for the theming for the card button here, let's give the card button or the button another background color, for example, like this red one here. The text color is okay. And also we switch the shape from angular to rounded. So afterwards you could simply save these theme settings here. And for example, if we open now the bundle widget here, you can see now the button here is has a red background color and a rounded shape. So the next part is the checkbox. At the moment, the checkbox only affects the frequently bought together widget on the product page, because it's the only widget which has checkboxes. So let's do the same here. Let's change the background color here to this red color and switch the shape to rounded, and again save the settings here. And now let's open the frequently bought together widget on the product page here for the smartphone and refresh the page. Now you can see the checkboxes are changed. The third one here are the drop-down settings, and the drop-down settings only affects the drop-downs here for the variant selection for all widgets. Let's try this one. Let's change the drop-down shape here to rounded and save again. And now you can see, for example, here in the bundles widget is the drop-down changed, and here also at the frequently bought together widget, and for every other widget which contains variant selection drop-downs. And here we have the headline settings, where you can configure a color for the headline. You can configure the color via activate this toggle here, which means normally the headline is styled by your theme settings, which you can configure in your theme editor. And if you activate this tab, you can override the color from your theme settings to the color you have configured here. So next, let's focus here on the widget settings. And here we have two settings, the widgets and the pop-up settings here at the bottom. And as I've said before in some other videos of this tutorial series, pop-ups are technically no widgets. They are called app embed blocks, and that's the reason why we have split these two settings here, which means the widget settings here affects all five or all widgets of the app which are not the pop-up on the product or cart page. So now let's focus first on the widget settings here, and here we have two settings for the background color, which are the the colors here of the primary and secondary background color, and we have the both opacity settings for the colors. Then we have the border color and the opacity for the border color. So first let's check out or try out this background color here. So every widget, or the most widgets of the app, have two areas, because that's the reason why we have split this section here in the primary and the secondary background color. So let's explain this here, and gives the background the red color, the primary, and opacity to see the color, maybe for 18%, and the stronger color for the secondary background, and maybe black border color. So save again, and for example now open the bundles widget here on the product page. Now you can see we have a strong black border, a smooth red background color as a primary background, and we have a stronger red color for the secondary background here. So now I will show you how you can configure the pop-up here, or the styling settings for the pop-up. Here we have again a primary and a secondary background color, and as well text color. Now for example, let's change the primary background color here to a smoother red, and save again. And now if you open the pop-up here on the product page, now you can see we have given these areas here the primary background color. And it's it's very important to notice if you miss any settings here for the widgets. This means every other settings you can see here are available via the theme editor. So for example, if you want to configure here some text colors or things like that, you could do this by the general theme settings inside the theme editor. So now we'll explain you the functionalities for the settings for the functions here. So for this, click on the function tab to open this page. And here we have split the settings for the functions for widgets and pop-ups on the product page, and for widgets and pop-ups on the cart page. So now first let's focus for the settings here on the product page. First one here we have the click on product settings, which means this option affects what happens if your customers click on a product inside of our widgets. And you can either show the details of the product in a pop-up, or you could redirect your customers to the specific product page. So for example, if we are here at the choose the bundles widget here on the product page. For example, if you set the settings to show pop-up, this means if your customers click, for example, and it's the headphones here, now they get a detailed view of the product inside this pop-up. On the other side, if you set the settings here to open product page and save it, now your customers will be redirected to the specific product page, in this case the headphones. Yes. And the next one here we have the on add to cart settings, and they are split in multiple products and at once and single product, which means each time a widget added multiple products at once to the shopping cart, then the settings here at the left side are triggered, and each time only a single product is added to the cart. For example, if you only add a single product by the look to the cart, then these settings here on the right are triggered. So let me show an example. For example, here at the multiple products at once, we set we have 3 different settings: redirect to cart, which means if your customers add multiple products, they will automatically go to the cart page. The same with the checkout, and you could also set the settings to stay on page, which means if they click the button here, for example, at the bundles, they will stay on the product page. And the same three settings for if they, as you told before, if they click at a single product, for example at the looks, you could also say stay on page or go to checkout or cart page immediately. And also we have the settings for the cart page, which is at the moment only the settings for what happens if your customers click on the product. And the same as I have shown you before is you can either show the details of the pop-up in details of the product inside the pop-up, or you could redirect your customers to the product page. In this case, we would recommend to show the settings in the pop-up because you want to break the purchase flow and redirect your customers back to the store, because you want to go your customers directly from the cart page to the checkout process. So that's why the pop-up is recommended by us here. So now we'll show you some wording settings or translation settings from the app. So for this, click here on the wording tab. And here you can configure different options. The first one is the shop default language here, which means, for example, if your customers or you give the customers the opportunity to change the language, for example, to German, and you have not translated this German language inside our app, this means automatically the widgets or the text inside of our widgets are represented in English here. And here at the top we have the system fallback language, which works like a safeguard principle, which means if you have also not translated the job default language, then always, or the texts inside the widgets are always displayed or rendered in English. And here, if you click on the Edit Translation button, you will get to the real translations. So here you have all different text snippets which you can translate. And we have this drop down here, you can switch between different languages. At the moment we have filled in some default content for about 10 different languages like German, English, and so on. And for example, if you want to change here the text for the add to cart buttons, maybe for example to simply add and save again and reload, I have already reloaded, then you can see here your add to cart buttons are only represented by the add text. For example, remove it, then there will be the add to cart text again. For example, save it again and reload, then you have the add to cart. And as I have told before, for example, you would have a German store, or give your customers opportunity to select the German language, and you can select the German language here, and here you have the translations for the German text snippets. So last but not least, I will explain you the media storage. The media storage serves as a storage for images, which means it's only used if you upload images from our app. In this case, for example, if you upload your own image here, for example, for the look. And every time this happens, our software automatically saves these images inside a theme to make it transferable to the storefront and to the widgets. And in the most cases, you don't have to configure anything here, because normally our software automatically create which called the Upsail storage default theme here, which is our theme where the images are placed and saved. But in some cases, you could have already installed a number of, or already have installed a number of themes, so you have reached the limit of Shopify. I believe in the Shopify default plan you could only have 20 themes installed, So if something like that happens, this means our automatically theme cannot be created. So in this case, you must be select one of your pre-installed themes here, for example, the Dawn theme, and save it. And now the images are automatically saved inside the Dawn theme. So this was our little series here, our little tutorial series. If you have any further or more detailed questions, feel free to contact us under the shown email. And yes, have fun, guys.